Let's look at how we perform when we run Lord and Taylor for AI visibility audit. So when I go to gpt.atomz.ai and I put in my URL and my email address, I get a response, which is basically this. So I'll just go over the results page, which basically explains what you need to do as a brand to be better visible in Google Gemini, Google AI mode, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, and all of those. Claude now. So the first thing that we see is this one massive score, which is 33. It's a combination of discovery, completeness, and checkout. We'll go through each one of them. Like there are different characteristics of how discovery is described, how completeness is described, and how checkout is described. So this is directly derived from how Shopify wants the agentic ready product to be. If I go to the agentic ready product data blog, so they've explained quite nicely how the products need to be structured, how the site needs to be structured in order to be better visible. So if I go back here, so let's go through it one by one. So the results page is it's broken down into these three tabs. One is signals, which basically lists down the individual attributes from discovery, completes, and checkout. Then it simulates certain queries and sees what products should match and why are they not matching. Then it also shows some fixes that are quickly doable on the store. And let's go back to signals and see what each of these means. So MCP query hit rate essentially is when a store is being searched from when a user queries something in ChatGPT. So ChatGPT essentially runs a MCP query on the store. And if the store is responding with any results, that's when this would be true. If the store was responding, let's say for the 14 queries that we simulated, if the store responded with any products, it would show these many queries were matching products. But in this case, we see that this number is 0. So the actual queries and responses, we can go to query tests and just look at if someone searches for St. Laurent silk dress, you see this view MCP button and you actually see what the response was when a user searched for this query, and this did not respond with any products. This is the same query that the agents also make to the store. So these queries needs to be optimized for these products. Second is what happens when Googlebot crawls the page. So Googlebot essentially is the bot that is defined by Google AI mode, and they have a specification of how they want product page data to be when they are crawling. So when they're crawling, so if I click on this, so there is a limit of how much page can Googlebot read when they are crawling a web page. So that limit is essentially 2 MB. We've made it really simple to actually scan through your page, scan through your site through Googlebot. And there's a tool that's made for that, which is right here in your My Account section. You can go to gpt.atomz.ai/Googlebot, and if you enter your URL and email here, you'll be able to see the Google page, the Googlebot results. Then we have LLM.txt and Robots.txt. These are the two files that should be there in order for you to be discoverable. Again, we have these two tools that you can automatically use, which is right here. I can click on regenerate. Let's say if I want to mention or to see in real time, it's generating this file. So I am going to just do this as a test. So it's already created this, and I can just copy this and go in my Shopify dashboard and paste this. In order for, okay, so similarly, you can create robots.txt as well. You already have a robots.txt in your Shopify admin, but you'll need to make some updates to make it discoverable. We'll go over the specific updates in a separate video. JSON-LD product schema. So this is very similar to what we have the structured what Google defines as structured, not Google, I mean like the schema.org defines as the structured data. So if you are is your website compliant with the structure, with the schema.org guidelines? So you can run that through the structured markup data generator and see how that works. So currently we see that we sampled up to 5 pages and there were some fields that were missing. So that's why this code is showing as 40. Then there are completeness fields. So so ChatGPT and Shopify had a handshake, and they've defined this agentic commerce protocol as a protocol where they've recommended some fields and how many fields are there and how many fields are not there. So this completeness section is talking about that. The Shopify taxonomy category is probably the most important one in terms of defining how your product data needs to be structured. So if you go to any product in your Shopify dashboard, you will notice that there is a category here. So every product should have the category. And let's say if currently it is uncategorized, but if I click on earrings, I see some suggestions. If I click on accept all and save. So this is what basically defines your category meta field and your product taxonomy. Your Shopify product taxonomy. So this should be updated in all products. So category meta fields, we just covered that. Description quantity, a product description should have the right length. It should not include any stuffed keywords. So there are specifications for that, and you should be going over that. Apparently their keywords, the description quality for Lord and Taylor is pretty good, as we can see. Variant grouping, this is pretty much handled well for most of the brands that we see, because when you have a variant, Shopify enforces you to add certain details. So you already have all of that. Instant checkout eligibility. This is again one of those things that if your store is running on Shopify, you should be sorted for most cases. You just need to make sure that your things like your shipping policy, your returns policy, and all of that is taken care of. There might be some pages that were not returned accurately here, and that's why it's showing as 75. Knowledge base present, you should have your FAQ page on your website, which describes all sorts of questions and answers that are most asked by the customers. You should have these policies again, this is defined here, not here. So returns a different policy. All the compliance related things should be present, and that's why knowledge base has a big role to play in discoverability. Inventory real-time sync, this Shopify handles by default. We are showing here 0. We just don't have access to this. It should ideally show that this needs Shopify connection, and the same goes here. We don't have access to this, so this should show Shopify connection needed. So these are all the signals that as long as we get all of them closer to near perfect 100, this makes the store discoverable well. The second part of the audit is the query test itself. We briefly covered this while we were going through the MCP query hit rate. So essentially what query tests is doing is it's simulating your store against popular queries that people might ask about your store. So for instance, if someone asks for a Saint Laurent silk dress, so we only have parsed 250 products. So we are sort of trying to match those 250 products with the query tests that we are doing. So from the subset of products that we looked at, the black silk mini dress should be matched to St. Laurent silk dress because it's sort of a dress. It sort of is trying to make a semantic connection. But the reason it is not able to find it is because none of the attributes are filled here. If these product attributes were filled, this product would actually be matched to this if someone searches for this in the GPT-2, in ChatGPT or AI mode. You can click on MCP response button and you can see what exactly ChatGPT is seeing when they are querying the store with those specific queries. So for instance, this is a query that was made This is the endpoint that Shopify exposes to agents to search Shopify catalog. This is the query, which is essentially just the Saint Laurent sale dress. There's this very important field called context reader. So context is, think of context like the complete context that agent gives to the store. So if someone is searching for Saint Laurent silk dress, and that the person who's searching this is a 25-year-old woman living in Los Angeles, so all of that context comes in, and based on that, the query is made. So that's why if the context is matched to the product taxonomy, the results are more accurate. And that's why it's important that all of these are filled in, because the context brings in the age group. Context brings in maybe occasion. Maybe there was context based on the chat that she was performing with ChatGPT about a wedding that she was going to attend. So it's important that the context, context gets filled in automatically. You're not doing anything from your end, but it's important for you to make sure that these are accurate and filled in. And then we are just getting 20 results in the query that we're making. Similarly, there are the kind of queries that we are doing are based on problem, feature, use case. So depending on the category that you're searching in, these will be more relevant for your category. So the third section that we have here is fixes. So what we do in fixes are some recommendations that we have for based on what we found in the signal, based on the discovery signal, based on the queries that were tested. So there are some suggestions that system is trying to make. Some might be accurate, some might not be accurate, but it should make sense of what it is trying to say. So for instance, it's saying make your products discoverable by AI agents. Open the query test tab to see every shopping query that we ran. So you can basically just look at this and you know that this is what needs to be done. So this is one of the first fixes that you should be doing, and that's why it carries the maximum points. Fill ACP recommended fields. This is also a part of the taxonomy. So the ACP recommended fields are very similar to the taxonomy fields. So once you fill in these automatically become populated. So you wouldn't need to do this once you do this. Categories, again, this goes back to the same thing. If you're adding the categories as the products category, this will be populated as well. Populate category meta fields, very much the same thing. JSON-LDs, if your product did not have the JSON-LD, now we noticed that there were some products that did not have the structured data, so that's why it's showing that as a fix. If you don't have LLM.txt or Robots.txt, just go ahead and fix that. If you don't have the return policies, FAQs, or shipping policies, go ahead and fix that. This enable real-time inventory sync is, again, one of those suggested recommendations. Shopify handles it on its own, so you wouldn't need to do this. This is more like a suggestion, and so on. Like most of these are automatically then taken care of by Shopify. That's it. Those are all the things that we have on the audit.